Remember the map we picked up earlier? This is where it becomes important. This is actually the player's in-game dungeon map now. You can see all the points of interest on the map. We're going to jump ahead for time's sake. You players obviously won't be able to do this. We're going to jump ourselves ahead. We're going to check out what the Orochi meant when they wrote on the map, high biological mass warning. So,
approaching a major biological threat. Exercise caution.
So this is the Varangian. The Varangian is one of the warlords leading the effort against Solomon Island. He's one of the major leaders of the Draug armies, if you will. And what Varangian means, if anybody cares to do the research, it's actually a group of Vikings who were shipwrecked near Russia over 1,000 years ago. And they went ashore and they ended up becoming berserkers, fighting in the wars, working as mercenaries, and they had a fierce reputation. So, this does tie into the story. It actually has a meaning to the game, but we're not going to reveal everything, of course, right now. So,
since this is the first dungeon and the first boss in the secret world, the mechanics are fairly simple, but it teaches the player something really important. From time to time, the Varangian will wipe his aggro list and charge a random player. And then at those times, it's really important for the tank to use his taunting abilities to regain control of the fight. As we also mentioned earlier, the Draug control the zombies, and at certain points, he will vanish into the ocean and summon zombies. And it's really important for the players to get the zombies down quickly before he reappears to maintain that level of control that they need.
Recommendation. Pursue threat and prevent regeneration and tissue damage.
At this point in the fight, the Varangian is realizing that he's losing the battle, so he's retreating to an area where he feels safer. He's throwing zombies in the way of the players to slow them down, but they need to push on and see where he's going.
alright, so you can see this location here again. The Varangian has constructed himself something of a fort out of the containers off the tanker, and he's electrified the water in this area. So you see how the mechanic that we taught the players in the very first fight, where the water was electrified, also comes into play here. So players have learned from that, and hopefully they'll know that they can use that knowledge later in this battle.
As you guys can see, he also has a new trick up his sleeve now. He can put electricity on certain areas of the containers, and the players really need to stay away from that electricity because it really hurts. So it's all about reading the surroundings, being adaptive, while still damaging him and trying to get him down. Well done, guys.
Alright, so we're gonna take the pace down a little bit here. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're including the puzzle elements of the game into our instances as well. So you may have heard about some of the ARG style stuff we've been doing outside of the dungeons, but now I'm going to talk about how it works here. So in the cinematic, the Orochi guys mentioned the fact that this might be transporting some sensitive material. The players have located a glowing green crate, and when they try to open the crate to get fat loots, they find out that they need to enter a code. And so this is where we ask players, just like we do in the rest of the game, to think outside the box. In this case, it's actually literally outside of the box. There's a code on the shipping container. And if you go online, find the right website, find the shipping log, find the manifest, you can actually input that code, locate the cargo, locate the code to open the box that was inside this shipping container out in the real world. So this is just another sort of way that we're including the elements of the puzzle system into these areas of the game. However, we're not going to spoil what's in the crate today, of course, because we don't want to ruin it for the players of the game later. All right, so now we're going to jump ahead, I think. Yep. So we're going to skip ahead a little more and jump ahead to the players have been moving towards the aberrant psychic signal source, and they've been moving towards that all the way through the dungeon, trying to locate its source. So here we are in the shadow of the ship itself. And as we move forward, I'll just say a word about the zombies themselves that the players have been fighting. This is the former crew of the Polaris. The Draug raised them from the dead and forced them to pilot the ship. And we move forward now, we're going to progress into the belly of the beast.
And just a couple of words on progression in the secret world, because this is something we're really excited about. We have two forms of character progression, both vertical and horizontal progression. Vertical progression is something players are used to, and it comes in the form of items. You get better items, you get stronger and more powerful. You do more damage, you do more healing, you do better armor mitigation, you're better at crowd controlling. But equally important is the horizontal progression. As I mentioned, the players can learn all of the 500 abilities. But learning all of those doesn't necessarily make the player more powerful. It makes it more versatile. Whenever you're presented with a challenge, there are more ways to get around it, and you choose how you want to do that.
All right, so we're moving forward now, getting closer to the source of the psychic signal. We're going to find out in a minute exactly what that means. So, someone was a bit slow with destroying the pods there. All right. You've probably noticed the skill point thing ticking up as the players play. This is the currency they use to purchase abilities later in the game. All right. So this is the Primordial Dweller. This is the source of the strong psychic signature. This is the mastermind behind the attacks on Solomon Islands. The players are going to need to use every single mechanic that they've seen throughout the dungeon to be able to take this guy down.
As you guys can see, he's still protected with that magical barrier that the players saw in the first fight. They need to counter that with certain abilities. In addition to that, he spawns this poisonous ink on certain areas. And the players need to move away from that because they will erupt from massive damage. Also, the players will now encounter the mobile pods. They will run out with exploding pods on their back and charge the players and explode if the players don't deal with them. They either need to damage them down quickly or crowd control them. In addition to that, he also summons these octopods to defend him. They spawn in groups of 3 and 4. They also need to be damaged down or crowd controlled for the players to be successful. And as this fight continues, it gets more and more intense. More of these elements come into play.
It looks like chaos, but there's nothing wrong with a good slice of chaos in the game. The players have managed to take down the Primordial Dweller. And once again, just in keeping with our setting, you know, the helicopter comes in to pick them up. And they're ready to go back to civilization for a little bit of R&R. Take a break. Good work, guys.
Anomaly. Large etheric wave has surfaced converging on extraction point.
We're relatively certain that doesn't mean anything important.